Teisnacher 1543 Festma.
And remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. Yet another one from the Aldi pack of Oktoberfest beers, and this is the Teisnacher 1543 Festma from the Ettl Bra Brewery, which is based near Regensburg. Now, I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on actually. There is a company that has put this together, this choice of beers, and they're called Kalea, K-A-L-E-A, and they're based not too far from Regensburg, and a lot of the beers in this are from around that region, and this is no exception. And I've not heard of this brewery at all, but I'm not sure why, because they've been going since 1543, so that's some pedigree that they've got, and they've been a family brewer ever since then. However, there isn't much in the way of history on that brewery, even though they've been going that long. And some breweries just do have this. They have, I wouldn't say a boring history, but they have a very pedestrian history, if you know what I mean. Not much turbulence. Some breweries have got absolutely fascinating history. Unfortunately, this isn't one of them. But that doesn't mean that the beer isn't good. Now, they've been going since 1543, so I would imagine they'd learned how to do beer by then. And I'm not sure how this is going to fare against the one I tried last night, the Hohentower Festma. That was lovely. That really was nice. Oh, that was the Märzen Festbier, I should say. There's Percy, he wants to get out. Go on in, Knob-Job. You're going out. Anyway, that was a 10 out of 10 beer for me. That is probably the best one out of the pack that I've tried so far. This one, I'm not sure how it's going to fare against that, because that is now the standard that I'm going to hold all these beers to, because that was absolutely fantastic. This is Naturtrüb. Naturtrüb, of course, means naturally cloudy, so it hasn't been filtered. That may make for some extra flavour, who knows. And that's really all I can tell you about the beer. There isn't really that much to go on, unfortunately. The beer was brewed to commemorate the founding of the brewery, so I think this was in the 475th anniversary. So that, what would that be? That would be 1980. Yeah, recently. My maths is fucking dog shit. I could work that out. I'll put it up here. That's how many years. Anyway, honestly, mental arithmetic, I've got a mental block. And my old man, who used to be a bookies clerk in Ireland, and he could do fractions in his head. He used to work out all the odds in his head, and he had to, because if you're a bookies clerk, you've got to be bang on the money. I'm sure he was autistic, but my old man was quite a placid bloke, but he'd go into fucking rages when he used to try and teach me maths, because he thought everyone should be able to do fractions in their head. And of course, that is not the case. Anyway, I digress. Let's get on to the beer. This is a 500ml bottle. It's 5.4%. Not much to go on. Usual standard fare, conforms to the Reinheitsgebot. They mentioned that. Doesn't really mean a thing to me, to be honest. That's about it, really. One thing this brewery do, they must have some kind of artesian well, because they do mineral water as well, or table water, Tafelwasser, as they call it. So, and they do soft drinks as well. So they're pretty diverse in what they do. They also do the full range of German beers as well. But not tried this one before, so let's get it open. Let's see what's going on. Right, really hoping that this is as good as that Hohentower stuff. I know I keep going on about it, but that for me was fantastic. They're a really good brewer. Really gone up. Well, they were always up in my estimation, but so far the two that I've tried from them have been 10 out of 10. Will this be as good? Now it's a Festma Märzen, so it should be slightly dark in colour. Oh yeah, that is definitely cloudy, I'll give you that. Mind you, the head on it is fucking massive. What on the nose, what are we getting? Quite nice aromas. Again, caramel malt, that's the big thing. That first hits your nostrils. Not so much sulphur, which I was getting in quite a lot of the other beers as well. Yeah, quite nice. Oh, some slight hop bitterness on there too. Noble hop bitterness. Quite spicy. Yeah. It smells reasonably good, I have to say. Not having any alarm bells whatsoever. That is very, very cloudy. Let me get that up onto the light so you can see what we're dealing with. Looks almost like a Keller beer, a dark Keller beer. Is there floaters in there? No, I thought I was mistaken. I thought there was floaters in there. Let's get it down my fat Gregory Peck. Zum Wohl, as I say in Germany. Oh, that's quite nice actually. Oh, lovely finish. Oh, and that's really interesting because on the palate you're getting quite big caramel malt, slight bitterness as well, slight hop bitterness, very full bodied. But the finish is all about the slightly toasted bread, cracker type bready finish that you normally get, or you normally associate with a Helles. But yeah, this is interesting. It's really nice. However, I have to say, I really like that finish. It's quite a late finish on that. However, I have to say, I don't think it compares to the Hohentauer, or Hohentanner, I should say. Hohentauer, twat. Again, there's a better look at what you get in the glass. That is not as dark as it appears on the camera. That is lighter than that. It's almost like a light amber, light cloudy amber. That's what I'm getting. The aroma is nice, but the flavour, flavour's not as big as the Hohentanner. The finish is quite nice, I have to say. That is a good finish that's on there, and it's quite a late one as well, and it lingers and lingers, which is nice. I do like that. And it's just, I'm not sure about the flavour. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong, I'm saying I'm not sure about it. I am sure about it. I'm sure it's nice. The flavour just isn't as big. Now, I've just taken this out of the fridge, so I'm wondering if this is slightly too cold to be getting the full spectrum of the flavours. However, I am getting that quite big finish on the end. Mouthfeel is quite nice too. There is something about this beer that I can't quite put my finger on. It's almost like it's, I don't know. In a blindfold test, I would say this is brewed by a craft brewer, a German craft brewer, not an established brewery that's been going since 1543. Why do I say that? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's the Naturtrube cloudiness of it is putting me in mind of a craft beer, but I don't know, there's just something about it that sets it at a slightly lower level to some of the other Bavarian brewers. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a nice beer. It is good. Nice full-bodied beer, not as sweet as the Hohentanner. I know I keep referring back to that, but that's the best one out of the box so far, so I'm going to use that as a benchmark. When I say the best one in my opinion, that's not a fact. I can't verify that with scientific methods, so don't get on your high horses, everyone. Yeah, this just doesn't come up to that that really high standard, unfortunately. But again, it's good. And I suppose if you're aiming for that high standard, then and you're going all out to achieve it, then you're going to end up with something good. Now, I was on, what website was I on today? It was the Beer Advocate website, and I do get a could be a potential rant, so strap yourselves in. I'm on the Cloudwater mailing list. I've been on it for years, and they've got their own Oktoberfest selection of beer. They've got a Pilsner, they've got a Helles, they've got a Hoppy Weiss, and they've got something else as well. Now, I don't know this for a fact, so I don't want to pass judgment, but again, with these craft brewers, and especially Cloudwater are very good at what they do when it comes to IPAs and stuff like that. You know, the original craft brew fare. They're very good at that. And some of their beers are quite nice. They even did a little hoppy lager, which I quite liked. That was nice. Again, as is the want of all these craft brewers, though, it just seems to be the trend to throw loads of American hops in there. And when you're throwing American hops into traditional beers like Märzen, Helles and all that, you're just bastardising it, and I don't know, it's like putting perfume on a fucking pig or something. Don't do it. I really don't honestly think that these craft brewers have got any respect for tradition whatsoever. It just seems to be that, yeah, let's throw American hops into everything, and you know, that will cover up all our mistakes. I always say Helles and lager is a real test of how good a brewer is, and if you fail at doing them kinds of low bottom fermented lagers and that kind of stuff, then I would question your credentials as a brewer. Now, some brewers, I mean, I should put caveats in that. English brewers don't do lager that well, in my opinion. So I'm not going to say that they're bad brewers. I really should retract that statement. Forget I said that. Wipe the slate clean. However, if you're going to, especially craft brewers, if you're going to brew a lager and make a real song and dance about it, I know you've got to market it, but you really should be aiming for stuff that the Germans do. That's the best. They say imitation is the best form of flattery. If I was a brewer, that's what I'd be aiming for, and I would be buying noble hops. I would be getting the water as pure as I could, and just fucking getting advice from German brewers. It's what Sam Smith's did with their organic lager, and they brew one of the best lagers, in my opinion, that an English brewer does. The Weiss beer that they do as well. I'm sure Iyengar helped him out with. They had a partnership up until 2005, and Iyengar must have given them some pointers as to how to brew lager and stuff like that, and how to brew Weiss beer. Weiss beer, of course, being a top fermented beer, lager being a bottom fermented beer. The two beers that they do are fantastic. Their Weiss beer I really do like. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's as good as some of the stuff that comes out of Bavaria, but out of Germany. I don't think it competes with a lot of the stuff that comes out of Bavaria, though. The lager is about the best you're going to get in the UK, and that's where they've sat down and listened to a German brewer. Listen to a brewer that specialises in that kind of stuff. Now, I'm sure Sam Smiths could teach them how to brew bitter, how to brew stout, and how to brew IPA, proper IPAs and pale ale as well. So it's swings and roundabouts. But what was my point? Yeah, basically, craft brewers, I don't know, you really should be looking at the masters and copying them. You know, I know that everyone wants to be a maverick and brew weird and wacky fucking beers, but if you're going to sell stuff and sell it for a fucking expensive amount, and in 330ml cans, it better be fucking good. Especially in these times when people are skint. But I'm digressing. Let's get back to this beer. Yeah, it's just okay. I wouldn't say it's outstanding. I wouldn't say it's a beer I would especially seek out again. But it's quite nice. And that's probably as far as I'm going to go with it. There's a nice bitterness on there. Quite a fair amount of caramel malt on the palate. The finish is quite malty, but there is a bit of bitterness creeping in there now as this is warming up slightly, so I'm getting a little bit more of the flavour profile. But all in all, it's an okay beer, and that's as far as I'm going to go. So, what is the verdict on Teisnacher 1543? Well, it's just okay. In the grand scheme of things, well, certainly in that box, if that's the grand scheme of things, it's not one of the best. I will say that. It's certainly acceptable. I wouldn't turn my nose up at it, and it's definitely not going down the sink because there's no nasties in there, there's no alarm bells in there. It just isn't as good as the other beers. It doesn't compare to the Pickelsteiner, certainly doesn't compare to the Hohentanner, and it doesn't even compare to the Ettl Bra stuff that's in there as well. It doesn't compare to the Hofbrau Oktoberfest beer either, unfortunately. So on that synopsis, I'm gonna give that. Oh, what will I give it? I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think that's a fair mark. And if you do buy that, I think you're gonna probably see that for yourself. I mean, some people's tastes are different. Well, everybody's taste is different, obviously. So you may really like this. I don't know. But for me, having tasted the Hohentanner stuff, having tasted the Erlbacher Premium stuffed Festbier, which again was another good one, having tasted the Pickelsteiner from Falter, that was an excellent beer, and yeah, the Oktoberfest beer from Hofbrau and the Schneider Weiss, which is a Weiss beer, so I probably shouldn't really be comparing it to that, but I think this is on the lower end of the scale. Would it be the weakest one in the pack? Possibly. Yeah, I think this is possibly the weaker one out of the whole lot so far. I've got, I think, another one in there, and that will be the 8. As I said, I'm not reviewing the Schneider Weiss Festbier, and I'm not reviewing the Oktoberfest beer from Hofbrau because I've done it before. So for me, that's a 7 out of 10. It's still a good beer, don't get me wrong, it just doesn't compare to the others. And remember, beer is working class champagne.